A matter of words, they come for me at night. I doubt they will stop, and I can't imagine I will either. They seem to enjoy the darkness, thrive in it even. They sneak from my ear and whisper hateful things. I catch the words in my hands and stuff them deep inside my pockets where no one can see them. Once, worthless, came floating out of my ear like an apparition. But unlike in the darkness where it was a numbing throb, in the light of the day it felt like a lead weight settled painfully on my shoulders. Like I was holding up a sign in big letters for the world to see who I really was. What I really was. Luckily, I shoved it in my mouth before anyone could notice. After it was gone I could smile again. I had control back. But man, if it didn't hurt. The words burned down my throat. They seemed thousands bigger on the inside than the outside, and it felt as if I was swallowing a toad with each big gulp. Then a heat began to press behind my eyes. I could feel the letters trying to push their way out of me. They weren't going to give up any time soon. In fact, they gathered more words on their way to pester me. Their good old pals, hopeless and disgusting, came to join the party. I knew I was no match against the three of them combined. They would come breaking through my defenses and showing my true self to everyone. I had to get out. My fight or flight instincts kicked in. And since I could no longer fight, I had to fly. Where are you going? A voice, my mother's voice, stopped my tracks. I winced and turned quickly, knowing I only had a few moments before the words would come crashing through. I had to be quick. The bathroom. I tucked a strand of loose hair behind my ear and wrapped my arms around my waist. No one was looking at me, but I was standing in front of their view and I felt the exposure as insistent as the words behind my eyes. I watched the watery-looking word confidence float out of my lips. My arms tightened around my waist. Traitor, I thought. Sadly. My mom nodded and waved me away. No sooner had I been dismissed than I practically sprinted out the back door of the restaurant and crumpled uselessly on the ground. The dam broke seconds after. The letters came streaming down my face. Worthless came first in huge, heaving sobs. It felt like my face would explode from how much pressure it absorbed. The hot tears slid like acid down my cheeks. I was sure the skin was charred and burning there from each one, like one more would cause me to melt entirely. Hopeless was next and possibly worse than the first. The ugly crying continued, but was followed by its best friends, self-doubt and depression. Suddenly, each tear, along with the burns it produced, tore deep gashes in my heart. I felt carved to the point where the crying slowed and my shallow breaths were filled with the worst kind of torment, mental. I was thinking. And thinking was never good. Thinking aloud, disgusting, to finally show its face. I squeezed my eyes shut as the last of the tears slipped quietly down my face. Suddenly words were pouring out of me. Ugly, helpless, nobody, pointless, stupid, annoying, terrible, and nothing, to name a few. They crowded me, cushioning me in a wall of unfeeling. Neutral. I sat, unwanted for a moment, taking a second to make myself presentable. Breathe. In out. In out. In out. My chest contracted with each breath and I could barely find a reason to go inside. Why not stay out here crying? Why go back? Why keep going? Why not give up now while you still can? The weight of responsibility seemed too heavy a burden to bear. I didn't reply to the questions. I didn't have answers. But, with much effort I got up, I dusted myself off, I rejoined my mother in the booth, and I went home. Back to another pitch-black night in my room, where I cried the rest of the words out until I fell into unconsciousness. The next few days were full of a similar vocabulary. I tried to convince myself that this was normal, and the words became nothing more than background noise. A reminder to the truth. A painful truth, of course, but it was certainly the truth, or so I thought. It was a chilly night, there was a light drizzle and I was pondering over my mortality. It had been a particularly hard day. The words seemed crueler, the negatives far louder than the positives, and the world even darker than my room. But now, the storm had cleared and it appeared that the noise had quieted, if only for a moment. There were no spinning letters or depriving words. No tea.
A matter of would they come for me at night. I doubt they will stop and I can imagine I will either. They seem to enjoy the darkness, thrive in it even. They sneak from me ear and whisper hateful things. I catch the wood in me hand and stuff them deep inside me pocket where no one can see them. One woodless came floating out of me ear like an apparition. But unlike in the darkness where it was a numbing throb, in the light of the day it felt like a little weight settled painfully on me shoulder. Like I was holding up a sign in big letter for the world to see who I really was. What I really was, luckily, I shoved it in me mouth before anyone could notice. After it was gone I could smile again. I had control back, but man, if it didn't hurt, the wood burned down me throat. They seemed thousand bigger on the inside than the outside and it felt as if I was swallowing a toad with its big gulp. Then a heat began to press behind me eye. I could feel the letter trying to push their way out of me. They weren't going to give up anytime soon. In fact, they gathered more wood on their way to pester me. Their good old, hopeless, and disgusting came to join the party. I knew it was no match against the three of them combined. They would come breaking through me defenses and showing me true self to everyone. Tôi đã phải ra ngoài. Me fight or fly instinct kicked in, and since I could no longer fight, I had to fly. Bạn đi đâu? A voice, me mother's voice, stop me Chucks. I went and turned quickly, knowing I only had a few moments before the wood would come crashing through. I had to be quick. The bathroom. I tucked a strand of loose hair behind me and wrapped my arm around my waist. No one was looking at me, but I was standing in front of their view and I felt the exposure as insistent as the wood behind me eye. I watched the watery looking wood confident float out of me lip. Me arm tightened around me waist. Chatter I thought, sadly, me mom nodded and waved me away. No sooner had I been dismissed that I practically sprinted out the back door of the restaurant and crumpled uselessly on the ground. The dam broke second after. The letter came streaming down my face. Woodless came first in huge, heaving sob. It felt like my face would explode from how much pressure it absorbed. The hot tears slid like acid down my cheeks. I was sure the skin was charred and burning there from each one, like one more would cause me to melt entirely. Hopeless was next and possibly worse than the first. The ugly crying continued, but was followed by its best friend, self-doubt, and depression. Suddenly, it tear along with the burn it produced, to deep gases in me heart. I felt up to the point where the crying slow and me shallow breath were filled with the worst kind of torment, mental. Tôi đã suy nghĩ, and thinking was never good. Thinking aloud disgusting to finally show its face. He squeezed me eyes shut as the last of the tears slid quietly down my face. Suddenly words were pouring out of me. Ugly, helpless, nobody, pointless, stupid, annoying, terrible, and nothing to name a few. They crowded me, cushioning me in a world of unfeeling. Trung tính, I sat unwanted for a moment, taking a second to make myself presentable. Thở, trong, ngoài, me chest contracted with each breath and I could barely find a reason to go inside. Why not stay out here crying? Why go back? Why keep going? Why not give up now while you still can? The weight of responsibility seemed too heavy a burden to bear. He didn't reply to the question. He didn't have answer, but with much effort I got up, I dusted myself off, I rejoined me mother in the booth, and I went home. Back to another pitch black night in my room, where I cried the rest of the wood out until I fell into unconsciousness. The next few days were full of a similar vocabulary. I tried to convince myself that this was normal, and the wood became nothing more than background noise. A reminder to the truth, a painful truth, of course, but it was certainly the truth. Also I thought, it was a chilly night, there was a light drizzle and I was pondering over my mortality. It had been a particularly hard day. The words seemed crueler, the negative far louder than the positive, and the wound even darker than my room. But now, the storm had cleared and it appeared that the noise had quieted, if only for a moment. There were no spinning letters or depriving wood.